Tromso is the largest city north of the Arctic Circle and is a fun place to visit. This video tells you the top 10 things to see and do in Tromso and how to get around in the city. At the end of this video, we'll tell you our recommendation on how to see the most of Tromso in a single day from a cruise ship. Hi y'all, I'm Jeff.
And I'm Becky.
And together we're cruising good time.
Tromso is an amazing city. It lies north of the Arctic Circle. And so it's been the departure point for so many different expeditions and hunting since the 1700s. This city of over 50,000 people also includes the northernmost university, which always gives a terrific culture to any city. In fact, it's the northernmost on many things. It has the northernmost McDonald's, it has the northernmost Burger King. The list kind of goes on and on.
Northernmost Hard Rock Cafe.
But we had an amazing time in Tromso. Our cruise itinerary initially had 1 day in Tromso. However, an Arctic storm came up. The captain changed the itinerary. Boom. We've got 3 days in Tromso to really experience this amazing city, see all the sights. We also had my daughter and her friend traveling. So we had two groups of people going around Tromso, seeing all the amazing sights for 3 days. So we just have so much to talk about on how to see this terrific city.
So Tromso is located on an island, and there are aspects of it to see on the mainland, but your cruise ship's going to dock on an island. That's where the main city is. It's not real friendly for just walking off the ship and just walking into town, because the cruise ship, if you're on a large ship, is going to dock about a mile or two north of the downtown area. If you're on a small Herder-Gruten ship, you probably dock right there in the main part of the city. Either way about it, though, it's easy to get around. The cruise ship shuttle was real easy to use. You walk off the ship, go through the obligatory gift shop right as you get on shore, and the shuttle buses are right there. You show them a ticket. It takes you downtown. It stops right next to the Radisson Blu, which is right down there in the downtown area of Tromso. It's real easy to do. Princess charges $39 round trip for each one of those shuttle buses. So it was easy to use. The downside is it's kind of limited hours. If you've got a late night into Tromso, it operated from the time you got off ship, about 9-ish or so, to usually it was 6:30, I think, wasn't it? And it was at 6:30, it went off. And so if you're in town to midnight, you're probably going to have to use a taxi or a city bus to get on back to the ship.
Yeah, and then the city bus was located very conveniently. It was just a few hundred yards past where you caught the shuttle bus. They had a terrific app. Our daughter really enjoyed using it. They found that bus system to be very, very helpful.
Yeah, very easy. And there was a taxi stand right there, not too much further past where you caught the shuttle buses too, if you wanted to a taxi. In the 3 days we were there in Tromso, we saw a lot of stuff. We saw the Tromso Museum, which is part of the local university, the Arctic Cathedral, the cable car, the Troll Museum, the Polar Museum. We went to Ølhallen Pub, serving beer at furthest north brewery on the planet. We went to the Magic Ice Bar, went to Polaria, which is an aquarium, an Arctic Experience Center. We went to a glassblowing gallery and workshop called Blast. We went to the Tromso Cathedral there in downtown, and we went to the Sami Shop right there in downtown area as well, plus just walked around, took in the whole town. So there's quite a bit to see and do right there in Tromso.
On day one, we avoided any transportation concerns. We took the Tromso Highlights and Cable Car tour. It was very easy, and they picked us up. So this tour took us to the Tromso Museum, the Arctic Cathedral, and of course, up the cable car to the top of Mount Storstinainen. So please forgive me if I mispronounce that. It was an amazing mountain. So our daughter on day one, they took the bus and they went over to the cable car first thing, then to the Arctic Cathedral, and then they went to the oldest brewery in Tromso. Boy, going up that cable car was beautiful.
It was. And the fall foliage and everything else going, it was just really a gorgeous sight. And the view from the top is just remarkable.
Yeah, and it was snowing on us up top, and there was snow on the ground. A few people had made snowmen. It was really, really beautiful. And I loved the layout. So up on top, they had a beautiful seating area and a cafe and a playground for children. If you were there in the summer, it's a fabulous place to, get a drink and enjoy the view.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It had that patio. They didn't have it set up that day because, one, we're on off season, and two, is snowing. But it looked like just a fabulous place if you're there during the summer to just have a glass of wine and take in a remarkable view of the whole valley and Tromso Island there below you.
Yeah, we absolutely adored the view. Can't say enough wonderful things. This was my favorite activity that I did in Tromso, and I truthfully had contemplated going up a second time. So interestingly enough, we were there for 3 days. Only on day 1 was it open because the winds were too high on day 2 and day 3 to have the cable car open.
Yeah. But in full disclosure, we were berthed in Tromso for 3 days because of the Arctic storm that kept us out of Alta. So winds are going to be expected with that. Your mileage may vary on the cable car being open other times.
So another thing that I have read about this cable car is it is supposed to be a fabulous place to go see the northern lights if it's a cloudless sky or if the clouds are below 1,300 feet. So it'd be pretty cool to take the car up and be above the clouds to get the fabulous viewing of the northern lights. So it's around $50 to buy a one-time pass to use the cable car up and down the mountain. Our daughter bought an unlimited 2-day pass. However, if you're unable to use it due to weather concerns, there is no refund. Just like to note, our daughter went up to the top of the mountain first time in the morning. Boy, on top of the ship, we took pictures. It was all sunshiny before we got off the ship. And then by the time we were on the top of the mountain, it was snowing. And at the base of the mountain, I think we had some sleet.
It was sleet and rain down at sea level for sure, yeah. The Arctic Cathedral is also located on the mainland, not too far from the cable car. In fact, you'll drive past it to get to the cable car. It is a really amazing piece of architecture. It's ultra-modern. It's probably the most easily identifiable piece of architecture there in Tromso. It's very prominent right there on the mainland side. As you look across the bay, you can see it quite easily. We went in there. It has a huge pipe organ. The whole ultra-modern architecture is really fun to kind of take in. And it's probably one of the biggest tourist attractions in the whole city.
I loved its stained glass window. Our tour also included the Tromso Museum. So the Tromso Museum is part of the University of Tromso, the most northernmost university in the world. And it's really a lovely museum. Mm-hmm. So it has different things on medieval church, art, the Sami people, the Northern Lights. It's a very interesting museum.
I enjoyed the Northern Lights exhibit. I'm a geek, I admit it, and it was just a lot of fun to have that exhibit right there to take it in. And they also had a lot of really neat old Viking jewelry that you could see there as well. So they do a lot with the Viking heritage as well. So overall, yeah, it's a great museum.
And our guide really told us a lot about the Sami culture, and it was very, very exciting to learn more about the indigenous people of Norway. So on day 2, we went ahead and bought another ticket on the Princess Shuttle. We took it into town, and we started off with the Troll Museum. Yep. It opens early. It's conveniently located near the shuttle. It's very whimsical and fun. We saw Norwegian children having a good time. We enjoyed it. It's a carefree, lighthearted museum. If I had limited time, I probably wouldn't keep it in my agenda.
It has a lot of neat interactive displays on there. You can get they have a little iPad set up that you get your picture taken and there'll be a troll standing behind you, that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. I learned a few things about trolls, which my knowledge level was very low before I walked into the exhibit. So it was a good time. I enjoyed it, but I would make it lower on the list compared to some of the other sites. When we left the Troll Museum, it's just a short walk right down the waterfront to the Polar Museum, and that's really a pretty neat exhibit right there. It's a big, pretty good-sized museum. It gets into a lot of the details of the history of Norway and the Arctic in terms of hunting seals and life in the Arctic, and then finally the explorations and all the ships that tried to reach the North Pole and all that. So it had a lot of different information, and as you go through the rooms, it kind of follows that progression from life in the Arctic to hunting to the explorations. It's a lot of information there. You could spend a long time in there taking in all the different audio and the reading all the signs. We were in there for about an hour, saw it very well. I do recommend that. It's a very good exhibit to go see.
And the outside of the museum is very picturesque.
Yep.
So it's built in a historic building. It's there on the waterfront. We had some sunshine that we really enjoyed, just the views from the front of the museum. And it is an intense museum, but I recommend that you see it. I thought it was the best museum in Tromsø.
After that, we walked across downtown again. It was about a 15-minute walk over to the Mack Brewery, where they had the Ølhallen Pub. The Ølhallen Pub is the oldest pub in Tromsø. It started in about 1928, thereabouts. The Mack Brewery is the northernmost brewery in the world, and it's, I think, the only one north of the Arctic Circle. It's quite large, and it's a very good beer. The Ølhallen Pub has 72 different taps. They're all Norwegian beers, and they are all, well, I don't know if they're all good, but the two I had were both very good. And so they were a lot of fun to get in. The architecture, the ambiance on that whole thing was a lot of fun. They had some food that you'd order from another restaurant close by, which is kind of interesting. Threw a few people for a loop that you'd order on the app, and it would come from a different restaurant. It came from a place called the Burgerman. We ordered from Burgerman, got a few snacks right there to eat while we're having a couple of beers, and it was a lot of fun. Be aware that if you have a beer or a glass of wine in Norway, that there is an insane tax on beer and alcoholic beverages in Norway, because our beers at the brewery and a couple other locations in there were running $15 to $20 a glass. So and when we ask about a tour guide about it, she says, yes, they have a very heavy tax on all the alcoholic beverages right there. So that's, just be aware of that. It's still fun to go take it all in. I mean, how many times I'm going to have a beer north of the Arctic Circle in the northernmost brewery on the planet?
When we looked over our cruise itinerary, we had seen that 2 different cities had ice bars that we could go see them with.
Yep.
And the one that was easiest to get to is the one at Tromsø. So we went to the Magic Ice Bar. It's really a cool place. So when you order amount to get in, and that comes with one beverage that you can get. And then we decided to order a second beverage. Then you don all the equipment, and your group walks into the ice bar. It's really, really cool and fun. It has all these carvings on the wall. It has all these little enclaves. It has tables made of ice, chairs made of ice, and great music playing. It has a terrific vibe. Now, it's pretty cold, so a lot of people are in and out of the bar pretty quickly.
That's true.
Yeah, we were having fun. In fact, it was interesting. So we had people give us their second drink coupon because they'd had enough ice. I was thankful that when I went to Norway, one of the coats I brought was one of this ridiculously long warm coat. So when we went in, we were wearing, toboggans, our warm coats, scarves, gloves, and we were able to appreciate the bar a little longer than most folks.
Yeah, I loved it. It was definitely cold. 2 drinks is about the end of the line there for me, and I'm pretty warm-natured. But having the tables made out of ice and the bars made out of ice, they give you a little cup that's made out of ice to serve your drink in. It was a lot of fun. It's certainly a notoriety thing to do at some point or another. So it made it a lot of fun to take in and just have a good time.
There was a good portion of the cruise director's staff at the bar with us. We finished up there and started walking back. We were going to catch the shuttles, and we were stopping in at different bakeries looking for some very traditional Norwegian baked goods.
Yep.
So we were looking for skolebrod, Kanelsnurr, and vaffel.
Yep.
And we were a little late in the day to get some of these. So we went to bakeries both on this day of the cruise and on the next day. So we were able to sample all these Norwegian goodies. We went to the same bakery both days. Boy, charming staff, terrific food, fun little signs. Really, really enjoyed it.
That was a lot of fun. It was great bakery. They had some good coffee there, and the pastries were all just delicious that we had. We tried the cinnamon bread, which is the Kanelsnurr, if I say it correctly. I'm not sure. And I really enjoyed that because it wasn't heavy like a cinnamon roll, like you get at Cinnabon or something like that. It was very light, and it's a very light pastry with a good amount of cinnamon on it and not too sweet.
And we have the waffle. That was very interesting. It's the Norwegian version of a waffle. It's a little bit heavier, has a lot of cardamom. And what we got had some of the traditional cheese on. It was a very interesting food.
It was very good. I really liked that.
We also tried the skolebrod, which has a delicious vanilla custard, has just a little bit of coconut on top, and it was just amazingly good.
The night of the second night, we considered taking a Northern Lights shore excursion that the Princess was offering, and then there was also some Northern Lights tours offered by just independent people through TripAdvisor and Viator and whatnot. We decided not to do it because it had been raining and cloudy all day long. We've been in the rain and sleet. We pretty heavy sometimes or another. So we didn't think it was really worth the time to go do any of those shore excursions.
We looked at the radar and saw the entire area had tremendous amount of cloud cover, and it didn't look like there should be any breaks.
Right. We talked to some people that did do it. They drove all the way to Finland. Still didn't see the Northern Lights, but then we talked to another person on a different tour, and they were successful in finding it somehow or another. I'm not sure how, because there was a lot of, like Becky said, a lot of radar, a lot of clouds out there. The third day, we took the Princess Shuttle downtown again. We went to Polaria, which is the northernmost aquarium on the planet. And it has a really neat exhibit in terms of aquatic life in the Arctic Ocean. And they had some really fun seals there and all to take in, too. Those are a lot of fun to watch. You know, seals, I think, are always fun to watch. It did get kind of crazy there when they were at feeding time because I didn't know there was that many people in the aquarium because suddenly they're all in the seal exhibit and you couldn't hardly see anything there. But we left that, walked next door to, they had an old ship there called the Polstjerna or Polestar. I know I didn't say that correct Norwegian there, but it had been a seal hunting ship for about 33 years. It's now a museum. It's in this glass enclosure. It was closed when we were there because it's only open from June to July, but we've got a few pictures of it. If you're there in the summertime, it may be worthwhile to go check out that old ship and see what it's all about.
Yeah, it also had been on some Arctic expeditions, and if you were allowed to go in, you can see all the different levels of the ship. It looks like it's, looks like it would be interesting. Then we walked a few doors down to Blast. That's an amazing little glass-blowing store and workshop. They were getting ready to start a class. It has a few fun things there, so that was a cool little stop. And then we walked out and we strolled down that beautiful, beautiful street of Storgata.
Yeah.
It has some pedestrian walkway. It just has amazing architecture, fun things to see. And we stopped by the Tromso Cathedral. Now, we'd been by the Tromso Cathedral many times. Its hours are few and far between, so if you really want to go inside, check it. But we went inside, and it is the only wooden cathedral in Norway. It's just really charming inside, has a beautiful organ, fabulous stained glass windows. I enjoyed going inside. It's certainly worth us, when you're walking down the street, at least stopping by and seeing how gorgeous it is from the outside. And when we were in the area, we also dropped by a fun little store, the Wainer store. And I have to tell you, I'd been looking for a lightweight coat to go to places like Alaska or Norway in the summer. And I found something there that was half the price of what I'd been finding in the U.S. So that was exciting. And it also was just a charming store that had nice things to see.
It had a lot of different souvenirs and stuff in that store. It was really nice.
I kind of like their troll animatronics myself.
Right by the cathedral and the Waynor store is the Sami Shop. And the Sami are the indigenous people of the northern part of Norway right there. And they have a shop there. That's where Becky got her necklace that she's wearing right here. And they have a whole lot of handcrafted things you can buy there. It's really a pretty neat shop. Stop by, check out. They have a lot of different souvenir type things and all that to check out. So I did enjoy that. So Becky, what would you do for your next cruise to Tromso?
Well, once again, I would look for a cruise that had a very long day in Tromso. There is just so much to do. I would pick something that started at 9 a.m. and goes to midnight, a really long day. Now, one of the things, though, about Tromso that's challenging is so many things in the city do not open before 11 a.m. I'd found some great independent tours that were led by Sami guides, and they took you out to a reindeer farm, and you could either feed the reindeer or you could go sledding with the reindeer, and that would be a very cool experience. However, that was not open when we were in Tromso. So I would consider doing one of these excursions super early in the morning and then filling the day with extra things. And no matter what I did, I would make sure I do a cable car ride.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's the most important thing, in our opinion, to go see is the cable car ride. And check the weather, because you can do it first thing in the morning. You could do it late in the evening. It's open early at 9 and it stays open pretty late at night. So you could do it either way, but do it based on the weather so you can get the best view possible. And it will shut it down if it gets too windy and have a storm coming in. So make that read on there and see what you can do on that.
Yeah, when we were there before, we were there for 3 days. It was open day 1 and it was closed both days 2 and 3 due to the high winds.
Yep.
As we mentioned, our daughter had a 2-day cable car pass. And on day 1, they went to the top of the mountain in the early morning. On day 2, they tried to go over in the nighttime. They thought that would be amazing. And they actually walked over the bridge. By the way, there is a pedestrian lane. So if you walk over the bridge, make sure you pick the pedestrian lane, not the bike lane. They did it accordingly. And they said they had amazing views during the walk. And they loved, even when you got to the cable car where it was closed, they still loved looking around the city and seeing all the lights. They had a good time despite the cable car being closed.
So one thing to keep in mind also, when you go see the cable car, you drive right past the Arctic Cathedral. And so whether you're taking a bus and you have to change buses or whatever, you're right there by the Arctic Cathedral. If it's open, it has some limited open hours. Check their website to see when it is, because it changes seasonally. Go inside, take a look, or at least you can take a look from the outside if they're not open on the inside and kind of take that in too, because it is pretty unique architecture on that, I have to admit.
Yeah, and if you're that close, it's worth stopping by.
Tromso is a very compact city. It's not super large, and it's real easy to walk around in. You ride the shuttle bus in or take a taxi in. You're right there at the Radisson Blu Hotel. It's easy to walk around from that point and see all the stuff in there. The Storgata is a really beautiful street to walk on. It's largely pedestrian and with no traffic on it, so it's real easy to move around, see a lot of stuff, stores and shops and restaurants.
And it's beautiful. The architect's beautiful. It's interesting. There's just things to see. I just think it's really exciting to stroll through. And then there's so many amazing things to go to.
Yes.
Like I would want to go to that Polar Museum. It's on the waterfront. That also has tremendously fabulous views.
Yep.
And that's to me, the best museum in town is the Polar Museum. So I would stop there.
It's very good. The Tromso Cathedral right there in the center square of town is really nice. It's very limited opening hours, so if you can see it from the outside real easily. You may not be able to get inside if it's not open while you're there. The Sami Store is right across the street from that.
Yeah, I would stop by the Sami Shop.
Yeah, it's a really neat shop. I mean, like we said a while ago, it's got a lot of handcrafted items in it. Becky got her necklace there. It's just it was a fun shop to take in. I was a little skeptical going in, but at the end of the day, I did like it there. We also recommend going to Ølhallen's, part of the Mack Brewery there, that oldest pub in town, and also the northernmost brewery on the planet. And taking in that ambiance. It has a really neat feel about it and ambiance around there, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I would recommend also going to the Magic Ice Bar. Be sure to wear all your warmest undies.
It is cold in there. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, absolutely.
And I would recommend stopping by a bakery.
Absolutely. All the pastries are delicious that we had right there in Tromso. If you have time, Polaria is really a neat aquarium to go check out because of all the Arctic Ocean exhibits they have, and the seals are kind of fun to watch. And it has really cool architecture because it looks like the building's fallen over. So it's kind of a neat place to visit there as well. If you have time, I'd put it lower on the list.
We've done several other Norway videos. You can find links in the playlist. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you have found this video useful.
If you liked the video, please give us a like and subscribe and turn on those notifications. It really helps us out.
Until next time, have a cruising good time.